So there's another Marvel movie out, as well as Loki, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, What If, Shang-Chi, and I think there's a crossover between Mr. Peanut Butter and Ant-Man this year.
What is this? A crossover episode?
And Black Widow is pretty good. It's fine. It's 5 years too late, but it's fine. Also, I don't know how this is going to work. Given that it is a Disney property, I'm likely not going to be allowed to use much in the way of clips, at least not with audio. So, this is probably just going to be me making a bunch of stupid jokes. I'm sorry. Content warning. This video will contain explicit references to violence, forced sterilization, murder, assassinations, terrorism, and me looting over Scarlett Johansson. And probably some light coverage of the legal drama surrounding the movie. Viewer discretion is advised. This video will contain spoilers for Black Widow, Endgame, Infinity War, probably Civil War, The Incredible Hulk, and Star Trek Into Darkness. Benedict Cumberbatch plays Khan. It makes very little sense and is just meant to be a reference to the other canon, and it was ultimately kind of pointless. Sorry. The movie opens on two young girls playing somewhere in the Midwest. Their mom explains fireflies to them, of which, thankfully, there are less than 1,000. That song is fucking awful. Dad gets home and explains that something is complete, and they make dinner and tell each other about their day, and he tells their mom that they have less than an hour to leave. They drive off to some rundown airstrip with the cops on their heels. Dad throws a car physically out of the way, which is new. Most dads can't do that, in fact. I checked. The girls all pile into a small plane and they start flying. Dad shoots out the wheels of a cop, but you know they survive. It's a Marvel movie. Probably, at least. This movie does have a lot more murder than most of the ones, but, or at least a lot of collateral damage. He jumps on the plane's wing and shoots some more, which is very difficult looking. It looks very hard. One of the cops fires back and hits Mom. She forces the young blue-haired Natasha to take over. They manage to escape to Cuba, where they're greeted by some people. Dad asks for his suit back.
Where's my super suit?
Men circle the girls as their mom is carted away. The older of the two grabs the gun from one of them and threatens to kill everyone. Dad comes by and convinces her to stand down. As a testament to how bad whatever is going to happen to them is, little Natasha demands to go back to Ohio, which is something that no one has ever wanted for any reason. Ohio is the worst state. I will not be taking questions at this time. Over the credits, we get a montage of the training, experiments, and torture that the girls in obviously what is the Red Room undergo. This movie takes place between Civil War and Infinity and Endgame, so I guess I have to discuss Civil War before anything else. Natasha is on the run from the entire United Nations, I guess, because the Avengers had a bit of a tiff over the fact that they have unregulated power and Tony feels guilty because of all of the murder and, collateral damage. And Steve thinks that his ability to unilaterally make decisions with no input from anyone else is the best thing. Natasha eventually sided with Steve, who is also on the run. We transition to General Thunderbolt Ross, played by William Hurt, calling Nat, played by Scarlett Johansson, asking her to surrender. She tells him that it's a bad idea to go up against her, but because Ross is literally never been right in any of these movies, with the possible exception of the terribly written Sokovia Accords, she gets away with ease. In fact, the building that he invades is literally nowhere near where she currently is. She's off in Norway somewhere. He's somewhere else that isn't exactly clear. So I guess it's a good thing that Ross didn't release Tim Roth into the building to wreck everything. like he did in Harlem. No, I did not forget about the Incredible Hulk, and no, I will not forget about it. Ross is an idiot. We then cut to some kind of mission with a Russian team of women tracking someone. The leader, Yelena, played by Florence Pugh, goes after a woman that has some kind of package. They fight until the target busts out some red stuff and sprays it in her face, and we get some neat CGI over the eyes of the other woman as her target dies. She grabs the package, tears out a tracker in her leg, and the team informs a shadowy figure that she's gone AWOL. They decide that it's time to employ the Taskmaster Protocol and go over to a person wearing a cool skull-faced mask and install something into the back of their head. Wish I could learn things by people just inserting something into the back of my head. That would be pretty cool. I could learn how to be a proper video maker instead of a hack. We cut back to Natasha. She drives up to a trailer in the middle of nowhere, and she's greeted by some connections guy. I don't remember his name. They say it in the movie, and I don't care enough to look it up. He has the ability to give her places to stay and fake identities and all the regular spy stuff. He also gives her some of the stuff from some of her old missions, specifically Budapest. She watches a movie, and then the generator she has conks out, and she has to go to town for more gas. The camera lingers on her ass for a really long time, and it's a nice ass. I'm not complaining about ScarJo's ass, but it's still a really odd choice. Anyway, as she's driving back to town, someone shoots a fucking rocket at her fucking car and sends it flying, almost falling into the river. That Taskmaster dude comes out of the woodwork, and Nat tries shooting at them, but apparently they made a vibranium shield for this person, so it's a little less than effective. She gets out of the car, and the Taskmaster dispatches her pretty easily, but it's focusing on something in the car. She had brought that stuff from the previous mission and was planning to throw it out, but Nat, not being a total fucking moron, realizes that she's not the target and challenges Tasky again. She eventually distracts them enough to steal the contents of the case that Tasks was after, and by the time that Tasks realizes it, it's too late because they threw Nat into a river and she's gone. So Nat arrives in the infamous Budapest and heads to an old haunt. This might require some explanation just because the entire movie is predicated on Budapest, kind of. Like, that's the premise of the movie. Budapest is a reference to Avengers 1, where apparently in order to transition from being a Russian spy to working with American spies, she had to do a mission with Clint Barton, the Hawkeye, played by Jeremy Renner, and it's referenced heavily in that movie. So, watched Avengers 1. It's actually pretty good still. She starts to break into her old haunt, but a voice from behind the door says that she knows that she's already there. So she just goes in, she meets up with Yelena, the Red Room deserter, and they fight and then spill some exposition about how Nat used a child as a bomb to kill the leader of the Red Room, which is metal as fuck. And that he and the Red Room is dead.
Finally dead. Definitely. It turned out the deer was not actually dead.
So it turns out that the Red Room is not dead, in fact, nor is the person that she supposedly killed, and some of the widows are after Yelena, who is Nat's adopted sister that we saw at the beginning of the movie. They book it and do some things that would kill a normal person, one of which is that Nat falls like 3 stories and lands on several very hard-looking HVAC tube things on the way. One of the girls following them had fallen and broken her leg. Someone behind the scenes forces her to kill herself. The Red Room is not only operational, but thriving and has cool mind control technology. And the magic red vials are apparently the cure for this, which is why Yelena is no longer under control. Our girls get to Yelena's emergency escape vehicle and drive off. But Tasky is there after them again and is willing to kill pretty much anyone in Budapest in order to get to them. There's a dramatic chase scene. Our heroines get away by hiding in a subway station. We get out and have some bonding moments, and Yelena reveals that she has a really cool vest. And the reason that it's really cool is because it's got pockets. Which, like, yeah, pockets are awesome. Women deserve pockets. Everyone deserves pockets. Give everyone pockets. Pockets equality for everyone, please. We decide that the only way to find out where the Red Room currently is to break out fake Dad from prison. They contact the connections guy from before and get a helicopter. We cut to inside the prison where Dad, played by David Harbour, is telling stories about how he fought the great and mighty Captain America and is currently winning arm wrestling contests. Someone points out that the timeline for that doesn't make any fucking sense, since Cap would have been on the ice most of the time when the Red Guardian would have been active. He responds in a very calm and collected manner by breaking that motherfucker's wrist. Then he is told that he has a package and he needs to pick it up. He goes out and the guards are eating the care package that was for him, and they give him a little Red Guardian doll. Inside is an earpiece. Nat and Yelena, I really need a name for her. I'm gonna call her Yell. And since she's fighting her organization, I guess that would make her Rebel Yell? I thought it was funny, fuck you. Nat and Yell are on the other side and tell him not to make a scene. But of course he makes a scene, because it's been like 10 minutes since we've had the last action set piece. He goes back and smashes the skulls of the guards that were eating his care package, and he manages to get outside fighting pretty much everyone. The helicopter can't land, so Alexei proceeds to try and climb to a point where he can jump off onto the helicopter, but he gets knocked off his spot and down to the ground. Widow decides that she's had enough and goes to go retrieve him, leaving Yell to handle the helicopter, which is having some trouble given the people are shooting at it. Which is just rude, frankly. She gets fed up and pulls out a fucking rocket launcher and shoots the mounted gun tower. But because this is in the middle of the Russian mountains, this causes an avalanche. So she just killed a lot of people. It shows people getting inside before it hits, but that's bullshit. Even if every person managed to get back inside, which is remarkably unlikely, it's going to knock out the power, and some people are going to die. Probably a lot, because now they have to dig out that entire prison. Widow manages to get Guardian up into the helicopter and they fly away. He gets less than a warm welcome from both of his girls. He asks if they're both on their respective periods.
Why the aggression, huh? Is it your time of the month?
Which is weird and sexist. But what's worse is the movie takes this time to remind us that
I don't get my period, dipshit. I don't have a uterus. Or ovaries.
No one in the Widow program can have kids. They remove their reproductive organs entirely.
Happens when the Red Room gives you an involuntary hysterectomy. They kind of just go in and they rip out all of your reproductive organs.
Alexei is grossed out by this, and I'm just kind of sad. I don't even like kids, but you should have the right to have them if you want. But there's always adoption, I guess. They start flying towards Melina, their fake mom, who's played by Rachel Weisz, who apparently survived their trip to Cuba all those years ago. Their helicopter crashes. Apparently Joseph Joestar had taken over the controls at some point, and it just fucking plummets out of the sky.
Oh my god.
They walk the rest of the way, and Alexei iterates how proud of both of them he is. He helped raise a superhero and the greatest assassin ever. He also asks Nat if Captain America ever mentioned him, because he just wants Senpai to notice him. Everyone just wants Senpai to notice them. Cap had not, but that's beside the point. They arrive at Melina's. She's some super scientist in that vague movie way. and has had a major part in the mind control program. She displays this by ordering a pig to stop breathing for so long that the poor thing must have had enough brain damage to think that the DCEU is better than the MCU. The pseudo family sits down and discusses things, and Nat, still heartbroken from her last family breaking up, reiterates that they were not a real family. This pisses Yell off, and she books it to some room. Alexei follows to try and console her, but he can't find the right words because he's kind of an idiot. But eventually, he settles on singing her favorite song as a child.
My granny, while on her deathbed, she turned and said to me, why must you view life so morbidly? I tried to teach you right.
Nat and Mel catch up. Mel reveals that she was trying to contact Brendan Fraser to see if he's up for another Mummy movie, but she accidentally contacted the bad guys and they're totally on the way instead. They surround the house and capture everyone. Apparently it takes like 30 tranq darts to take down the Russian super soldier. Good for Alexei. Badass. They're taken to the Red Room, and we get to see some of the training and brainwashing. Nat and Alexei are brought to cells somewhere. Yell is going to be operated on to reinstall that mind control stuff, which is bad. Don't mind control people. It's rude. And Mel is brought to the Red Room's leader, Dreykov, played by Ray Winston. He congratulates her, and then it is revealed that they are using that face disguise tech from Winter Soldier, which is actually a pretty cool callback. Dreykov also reveals that his daughter survived the bombing somehow, and is now Tasks. So that's something. Mel, who was disguised as Natalie, and Alexei escape, and Dreykov sends Tasky to go finish them off. Now, Widow has the upper hand at this point and tries to do the murder. But due to some overpowered pheromone nonsense, she can't harm him. Unfortunate. Hate it when my pheromones do that. Mel tells Yell that she'll need to escape through a comm that they gave her at some point. She has a knife and uses it to book it, doing the whole assassin thing. Sweet. Mel breaks into some kind of control room and goes about trying to bring the Red Room, which is another floating fortress, because the MCU loves its floating fortresses for some reason, down. Alexei takes on Taskmaster and is woefully outmatched. Tasks is just a better fighter, like bar none. In a true James Bond fashion, Widow goads Dreykov into revealing his whole ass plan to her in a monologue and then into beating her up. He has brainwashed widows from all over the globe and could take over at any time, but he's going to use our girl as the linchpin, since she's an Avenger. Apparently, he doesn't realize that she's on the UN's shit list. But say, Livy, after her nose is broken, she slams her head into the table, much like I would do when I was having a fit, severing the magical pheromone receiving nerve thingy. And now she's immune to that plot device. Neat. She beats the shit out of him until a bunch of widows arrive, and we get the glam slam we've all been waiting for. Like, 10 beautiful women pile onto Widow like it's Dead or Alive beach volleyball or something. She fights them off for a while pretty admirably, but is eventually overwhelmed. Yell comes in with the magical red stuff attached to a grenade, and it explodes, freeing up all of them. Somehow, 2 of the vials survive despite being attached to a fucking grenade. And Nat picks them up because they're going to be useful later. About a minute or so prior to this, Mel had started bringing down the ship in the most logical way, by blowing up its engine. This thing must be hell on the environment. What do you think the Red Room's recycling policy is? Is anything enough to make up for this thing? Alexei manages to trick Tasks into the cell. He and Mel start to escape and get to a jet. Nat crashes down through the floor and some shoddy CGI to the cells, and she's feeling guilty about the whole trying to blow her up thing, so she releases Tasks, who proceeds to try to do the murder. But the building breaks like My Will to Live, and they're separated. Nat and Yell start running, and Yell catches up to Dreykov's jet and damages the ending with the convenient expanding stripper pole that she had. She's blown off the side and starts falling. Nat dashes to pick up a convenient parachute and catches up to Yell and attaches it. But she notices that Tasks is still trying to kill her and detaches herself from her found sister. Tasks and she fight on collapsing debris, which is actually pretty good looking. Some of the CGI in this movie is real bad, but this looks alright. They eventually get to the ground, and she uses one of the last two magic vials to take away the brainwashing. A lot of the Widows also managed to escape as well. Widow activated her beacon to let Ross know where she is, and he's driving there. Yell, Mel, and Alexei all peace out at Nat's command, and the Widows are apparently going to take the fight to dismantle the rest of the network. Neat. A few weeks later, she meets up with the Connections guy, and he's got her a fucking Quinjet somehow. This dude is really good. She reveals that she's going to break her friends out of prison and try to rebuild her second found family, just as she had her first. The after credits scene has Yell laying flowers and paying respect to Nat's grave in modern day. The send-off that she deserved but really didn't get in Endgame. Good for her. Valentina, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, reprises her role from Falcon and the Winter Soldier and sets up a sequel. White Widow versus Hawkeye. Since Hawkeye could be blamed for Nat's death, I guess, if you didn't watch Endgame. Which implies that, the story was never properly told. What use is it to explain that Hawkeye was there for Nat's death, but he wasn't at fault? What the fuck?
Ohana means family.
So one of the most common complaints that I hear about the MCU is that it has no themes, which is just blatantly untrue. The themes are usually pretty simple. I always say that simple themes that work are better than having complex themes that don't. Widely, it's my biggest complaint about the DCEU. I'm thinking about doing a meta video of all of the themes in the MCU and why they work or don't. Let me know in the comments if that's something that you'd like to see. This movie is just establishing what we already know about Nat again. She needs friends, her family. Without them, she's still a great warrior and is fucking terrifying and hot, but she's sad and cold. And we don't want her to be sad or cold. No nipple jokes in the comments, please. She needs people to remind her of that human element that tends to turn off when she's alone. She shuts herself away when she feels rejected. She did this with Mel, Alexei, and Yell when she's forced back from her relatively few happy months in Ohio, something that literally no one else in Ohio has ever experienced, given that Ohio is still the worst state ever. She was doing it with the Avengers, and now that they've fallen apart because Tony and Rogers are both fucking children who can't learn to talk like human beings for 5 fucking minutes, which honestly would have solved almost every problem, but again. So the theme is to let people in. They won't be perfect, but they are necessary, and they make us better. Alexei is an idiot, but he cares about them. Mel is a bit clinical, but if you get past that, she's also very capable of loving people, much like Nat. Yell is an open wound. She looks up to Nat and wants to be more like her, just like a little sister would, but is also hurt by the fact that she was abandoned and Nat never came back for her. It's pretty simple. People work better when they're not isolated, and your found family is as good or better than the real thing. So basically, what I'm saying is...
Ohana means family. Family means nobody
gets left behind
or forgotten.
Also, there's a minor theme that you should check your fucking work. Seriously, if Nat was just a little bit more thorough, none of this bullshit would have happened. Always double check your work. I say, as a hypocrite who occasionally has video error issues because I don't feel like rewatching the entire video or re-recording it. So Black Widow is fine. It's like most Marvel movies. It's serviceable. It does its job. We get quips, action, a little heart. I do think that Guardians of the Galaxy does the whole found family thing better, but I liked Alexei. I liked Mel. Yel seems like she'll be able to take up the mantle pretty well. I'm honestly just sad that this didn't come out sooner. So this movie was obviously delayed a lot, and it deserves a bit more than it got. It was originally slated, I think, for 2019, and then was moved to 2020, and then the whole COVID thing happened, so it was pushed back even further. Disney was obviously hoping for a full theater release, so then they decided to do a dual release in theaters and Disney Plus, which apparently this wasn't a stipulation in ScarJo's contract, so she lost a lot of money because of it. They blame piracy, which might be a little bit true, but most pirates weren't going to buy it in the first place. It also sounds like her contract should have just been renegotiated when the pandemic hit. I hope she gets her money, especially since Disney has a long history of fucking over its creators. The fucking bastards. When Disney acquired LucasArts and all of the Star Wars media, they started republishing a lot of the old EU books, but they didn't keep the contracts up with the authors and didn't pay them the royalties that they were owed, which is fucked up. As an aspirant author myself, I would be furious. But also, this movie just came in too late. It should have been released in 2016 or 2017, just after Civil War. That's when the movie takes place. ScarJo deserved to have her place as the female-led superhero flick to hail in Marvel. I liked Captain Marvel just fine, but she didn't have a decade of movies in this arena. Apparently the reason that this happened was because some dumb fuck at Disney thought that women and people of color couldn't have a solo flick succeed, which is dumb as hell. And the DCEU proved that with Wonder Woman, which is pretty damn good. So fuck that guy. And fuck any chud who says that. Those are dumb bitches. So yeah, I would have liked to see the movie sooner, if for no other reason than to not know that Nat was going to die, and I wouldn't really get any more time with the character. It feels like a fucking ripoff, honestly. I finally get a Black Widow movie, something I've wanted since Avengers 1, and now I get no more. Fuck that. Hey, do you want some more superhero media? Do you like reading? Well, you should like reading, because I have a superhero web novel that you can straight up read for free at Royal Road. It's called Smash Gal and Esvanir. Link is in the description. It's a little bit more subversive than this, mostly because this isn't very subversive at all. I guess Black Widow does try to examine some of the more sexist parts that ScarJo had to do as Nat previously, but it's all in good fun. They ultimately kind of wash it away. Mine is about the nature of power and the relationship of superheroes, villains, and society as a whole, because I'm told by a very reputable man that we do in fact live in a society. It's cool as hell. Check it out. But beyond that, kick that like button. Hulk smash that subscribe. Or maybe smash Scarlett? Smash Scarlett. Branding. Go full Esvanir and teleport this video into people's eyeballs by sharing it. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Support me on Patreon if you want, so that I can fund my own Black Widow movie, where Scarlett Johansson is my girlfriend, and she likes me a whole lot, and we go on cool adventures, and also I'm a pirate with a pirate ship. Until next time, I've been Sean, your super reviewer, signing off.